All right, day one of being Santa. This is my first time out on the job. He's sending me out here first place, retro rebound estate. According to my list, he's not been the best boy this year. He's been hating on Final Fantasy X. And so what we have here to expand his heart 3 times larger are 12 different video games, each one gradually expanding his heart. So we're gonna leave him for him, and hopefully on Christmas morning, he has a bit of a change of heart. I gotta be quick and quiet. I've been told that there's quite a bit of security here on the premises, and that I can be arrested as breaking and entering if I'm not careful. I'm caught by the wrong people, so just gotta go ahead and lay these out here and hope that Mr. Retro Rebound is pleased with his gifts this year that he undoubtedly did not earn, that's for sure. Okay, done. Let's get the hell out of here.
Matt, wake up! It's Christmas!
Okay.
Santa was here.
Real shit? All right, hold up.
Well, Santa came, and we have, it looks like, according to my calculations here, which is counting and math, not my best suit here, but 12 gifts. And they all look and feel like games here. They can't be worse than Final Fantasy X, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started with this one.
Somehow these movie tie-in video games were better in my head. The Polar Express has a game with a runtime about the same length as a movie, which I don't think I've been able to say about any game prior to this. Heck, they even changed the plot, as Scrooge is the main villain this time around who's trying to strip everyone of their tickets from the Polar Express to prevent them from reaching the North Pole. So next thing you know, to fight all that off, you're kicking around a soccer ball, you're getting into food fights, you're playing tennis with a jack-in-the-box and stealthing through the kitchen. I mean, who developed this anyway? Oh, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay. There's also the Game Boy Advance version, which doesn't fare much better. It's a 2D side-scroller where you explore the Polar Express, except this time a briefcase can kill you. You wander around collecting as many candy canes and cups of hot chocolate as possible, but the team behind this actually went on to remaster the Skyward Sword games, so small beginnings, eh? The Grinch, on the other hand, is like the Renegade route for Christmas games. You run around as the Grinch with a literal mission log telling you how to destroy Christmas for Whoville, except this time, Whoville has security. Citizens will be waiting outside to protect their presence, and if they catch you, you'll have to shake to escape. Your means of self-defense is breathing on people while you butt bomb the gifts lying about. It's fascinating. While Christmas tie-in games weren't that incredible, it did bring back fond memories. For as long as I can remember, my family and I would gather every Saturday during the month of December to watch a few Christmas movies in anticipation of the big day. Running through these games had me reliving some of my traditions and reflecting on how much of my life has changed for me so quickly. This is my first year where I'll actually not be celebrating Christmas in my usual childhood home. I'll admit, it feels a little weird when I'm thinking about it, but change is never a bad thing, and that's how new traditions are formed. Still, there was this feeling of growing up this year that I thought I did years ago, but boy does it hit you like a bus when you become a new homeowner. Still, it let me reflect on Christmas as a child into my adulthood with even more adoration now. Nothing says Christmas time to me more than Star Wars nowadays. Speaking of new traditions, while the new trilogy left much to be desired for some, it established one of my favorite new traditions when The Force Awakens released in 2015, and that's December is Star Wars month, kind of. It feels like every single December there's something new happening with Star Wars that just gets me in the mood to go and play a Star Wars game. The new trilogy, Rogue One, The Book of Boba Fett. They may not be perfect, but they never fail to make me want to get a little bit more of this universe I just can't seem to get enough of. I guess this has always been the case. One of my favorite games of all time, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, released on December 6th, 2004, and the long-running MMO set in that same universe, The Old Republic, released in December of 2011. One of my gifts my fiance got me in 2019 for Christmas was Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith on Nintendo DS, and it was like rediscovering my childhood there. Actually, one of the seeds that was planted making me want to make this video channel here today. I seriously think this is one of the most underrated Star Wars games ever, and even one of the best 2D beat-em-ups ever. The positioning for deflecting saber attacks, the upgrade system, the combos, the art style, and just by that gift alone and reconnecting with my childhood, I now have another new tradition of running through this little 2-hour beat-em-up once per year on my Nintendo DS. There isn't a game celebrating Christmas in the Star Wars lineage, but aren't the holidays about forming your own weird patterns on an annual basis? For some reason, I'm always playing the Old Republic around December, like it's clockwork. That or I get this odd, insatiable craving for some Battlefront 2, both old and new. I think it's because during the holidays, I have a little more time off than usual and often seeking a warm blanket of a game. Star Wars just seems to provide that sort of comfort without fail. Alright, I'm that weird Rockstar fan. While Planet Earth was literally quaking over Grand Theft Auto 6 in its reveal and it looks great, I couldn't help but be the guy wondering, where's Bully 2? And when will it finally come out when this is all said and done? I think it's because I played Bully at the perfect time in my life, so I established more of a connection to that compared to GTA or Red Dead. I was just about to enter junior high school, and naturally, as a lanky little geek, I was afraid of getting bullied. So I played this amazing game where you are the bully, meaning you can give people wedgies, you can beat up teachers, you can shoot potato guns, you name it. However, the story of Jimmy Hopkins' heart softening as he starts to stand up for people gave me a little bit more courage that things wouldn't be as bad as I imagined in junior high, and they actually weren't for the most part. The Christmas missions are, as expected, ridiculous. You're going to encourage some people to take photos with a drunken Santa, deliver gifts, and even beat the heck out of some elves. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite missions in video games ever. Don't believe me? Well, just ask me. One of my first videos ever on my Mr. Matty channel is highlighting how the ridiculous bully Christmas missions are some of my favorite in video games. I think the rambunctious nature of them just always gave me a good laugh, and how anti-festive they are. Nothing says Merry Christmas quite like squaring up with a bunch of elves, right? Still, playing Bully around this time of year and getting the plethora of Christmas content that's packed into the Scholarship Edition unlocked reminded me of what school was like during the holidays. Like many kids, I could not stand school. It was the bane of my existence. However, that feeling in the hallways when Christmas break was closing in, it was unbeatable. Everyone was a little looser, including the teachers. The activities in class were a little more holiday themed and engaging and collaborative, and the anticipation of some time off gave you that extra motivation to push through all the boring studying and homework that you had remaining before that final bell rang. This is a special one that needs a remake of some kind. Parasite Eve sets you in the shoes of Aya, a member of the NYPD who attends an opera on Christmas Eve. Funny enough, this Christmas game from Square Enix marked their first major foray into the horror side of gaming, as well as their first ever M-rated title. Aya is setting out to stop Eve, who plans on destroying the human race by setting them ablaze, and there's something going on with the mitochondria, aka the powerhouse of the cell. Can I just say this game is awesome? Yoko Shimomura composed the soundtrack for this one, and manages to have it range from bangers like the music playing during combat, and in the police station, hello? All the way to scary, ominous, and ambient tracks as you roam through Carnegie Hall. Meanwhile, you have tracks like this one. Dude, you're just roaming through Central Park and it plays like you're in the thick of a forest. It's just a special soundscape. It's also a unique approach to what kind of survival horror game it is, in that it incorporates turn-based elements into the combat. Seriously, if you haven't given this one a go, then you owe it to yourself to give it a shot. It's impressive how well it's aged from combat to exploration, and even the balance of the experience is done really well. For a lot of this, I've been waxing poetic of my own personal holiday memories, but Parasite Eve caused me to reflect in a different way. For many, the holidays can be a very lonely time of the year. Whether it's the lack of desire to celebrate or not having the friends and family to celebrate it with, it can actually be a bit of a sad time of year watching everyone around you experience joy. Not because you're angry at them for having the holiday spirit, but you also wish that same happiness for yourself. I know for me, when my Mimi passed away in 2020, it felt like part of Christmas left with her. Every year as a kid, we'd have the same split Christmas. During the day, I'd celebrate with my parents, and then Mimi would show up with her own gifts and food, and we'd do it all over again. It was like Christmas never ended. As I got older, my family shrunk. The holidays used to be a time where everyone from my cousins, aunts, and uncles to my grandparents and distant relatives would all gather. As life has done its thing, the holidays can serve as a brief reminder of how small my family is now. In the spirit of new traditions, my fiance and I are actually celebrating with our own families together, and for the first time in years, I have that same old feeling back. The reason Parasite Eve made me think about all of this is, as you roam the empty streets of New York City, a typically packed place as many of you know, It closely resembles those car rides to a relative's house I used to go on, how the world felt like it stopped for a brief moment. And with those car rides now being a distant memory for over a decade now, the game was a reminder that not everything is full of cheer during the holiday season. Shenmue was one of my favorite games growing up. The way the game simulated time and life itself, there was truly nothing like it when it first came out. You can actually celebrate Christmas in the first Shenmue if you don't rush through the game. It'll be snowing in Dobuita and the surrounding locale. There's already a complete coziness to Shenmue in the first place, but now seeing this neighborhood you spent so much time in caught in a soft, gentle snow really brings me some inner peace. I distinctly remember watching my brother play this game as a little kid and was in awe as he had to meet someone in front of an arcade at 8 p.m. in the game. He stood there and continued to check the time on his watch, and then boom, the mission began at 8 p.m. If he missed it, life went on. He'd maybe work a day job or do a little gig at night, go back home, turn in for the night, and then try the mission again the next day. Playing Shenmue around this time and seeing how people are out and about doing their thing despite it being Christmas Day was a check yourself moment for me. Even Santa is out in Dobuita telling me about if there's any jobs available at the harbor. For many people, life goes on when it's Christmas time. I grew up extremely lucky. My world was able to stop, even now in my adulthood, whenever the holidays come around. I've not had to work a holiday before, and I feel just incredibly fortunate that that's been the case for so long. If I had to, I absolutely would because I do anything for my family. Still, some people don't have that choice, even if they'd love to do nothing more than be with their loved ones on the big day. It reaffirmed the kindness I think that's important to give out, even in the passing strangers on the streets. We never know what kind of day they're having, and if a random act of kindness may be the push they need to get through a difficult phase in their day. Even if this reminder arrived via the technical limitations of a beautiful Dreamcast game, I'm happy to have it nonetheless. So, I feel like any Dead Rising fan I ask about what this game has the same answer. It was supposed to go back to its roots, and it did the opposite. Frank West is a joke now, and so on and so on. But looking at it from just the Christmas perspective, and I mean just the Christmas perspective, I can't help but kind of adore it. Seeing a massive mall complex decorated for the holidays, but also knowing I can use anything around me as a weapon is a feeling only Dead Rising could create, especially around the holiday season. Heck, I can even drive around toy vehicles outside of the course and hit some zombies while I'm at it. Bobbing in and out of storefronts to find new weapons or blueprints to create even crazier weapons, just count me in. Dead Rising 4 may not be the best Dead Rising game, but it sure does get the violent Christmas spirit going. Dead Rising 4 makes me wonder what would happen if the world just stopped while many of us were shopping. Me, I know I'm team physical goods for everything retro Rebound, but I'm an online shopper nowadays. The hustling and bustling of getting that gift you so desperately want is something I remember fondly, but knowing I can guarantee to find it online, stress-free, it's a blessing to me. A salute to our retail workers who still have to deal with the occasional Karen, especially this time of year. What are the holidays without friends and family, and what is Persona without social links? It's no secret that I adore the Persona franchise. You spend over 100 hours with this cast, watch them grow from fellow classmates to family, and by the time you get ready to take that train ride home at the end of it all, the waterworks have already begun. Persona is a series that's always managed to capture the chumminess of friends palling around better than any series in gaming. The dialogue that many view as a time waster is, for me, some of the best parts of the game. Since Persona games run around the calendar, you also get to spend a few holidays with the cast. The Christmas party of Persona 4 Golden is a perfect example of that. This scene serves no actual purpose to moving the main plot forward in a literal way, but given the timing, how the group is coming down from capturing the big bad at this moment in the story, and enjoying one another's company as kids instead of, crime fighters, you can't help but be happy for them. You couple that with the music such as Snowflakes in Persona 4, and the winter vibes are in full effect. All of Persona is built around one of the core mechanics, social links, where you adventure on a personal arc with your favorite characters to help them grow and evolve. like any good friend would do. Sometimes those links go beyond friendship and evolve into relationships, and Persona 5 doesn't give Christmas much attention, but whoever you're in a relationship with will get snowed in with you on Christmas Eve while you watch the snow fall outside a Joker's window. While this can be a bit hilarious, because this can happen with Kawakami, your literal teacher, might I add, the more serious and heartwarming moments like Persona 4's Christmas party made me reflect on my bonds. From Friendsmas to holiday parties and everything in between, sometimes I can be guilty of groaning as I get dressed for yet another outing. However, as I've entered my adulthood and I play games such as Persona, it's reminded me that these connections and bonds are precious and require as much attention maintaining them as they do fostering them. As I push towards my 30s, it's been really easy for me to assume that the friends I've kept along the way are it for life. But this year has really shown me the opposite. I've actually met new people, fellow YouTubers even, whose friendships are now ones I couldn't even imagine life without. Crazier yet, these are people I talk to daily, yet I've never met. The world can be rough at times, but the fact that some of my closest friends are across the globe without any physical contact or meeting is something that I'm holding on to closely this Christmas season. All right, why don't we lighten up a bit, shall we? Today we tackle the debate that's long polluted humankind. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes! It's set on Christmas, that's it, end of story. Just like Bayonetta 2 is a Christmas game. Sure, the first 10 minutes of the game open with Bayonetta doing some holiday shopping, and eventually it turns into a thrilling demon-slaying adventure where all of New York City's on fire, but it's still a Christmas game because of that starting point, alright? It's also a consistent representation of what people think holidays are like in New York City. I promise you, it's really not that great. I've been there, I've lived it. The honking of the horns, cursing at one another, scrapping for presents, and the brown slush that was once snow everywhere. Anyway, I'm off track right now. Why wouldn't you take an excuse to play this game during the holiday season? It's a platinum game with some of the best combat and music in the business. The way I sell people on Bayonetta 2 during this time of year shall forever be, it's the Die Hard of Christmas games. During my teenage years, nothing caught me off guard quite like Mafia 2. I remember my dad taking home a bunch of games that his work had donated to them, which was exceedingly rare, never happened before, and they wanted to see if I wanted any, so I'm picking through this treasure trove, and most I had already owned or had no interest in, but then I saw Mafia 2 and went, why not? And the rest is history. To say that this story broke my soul on multiple occasions would be an understatement. The love I had for Vito Scaletta and the people that surround him, only to know how cold that Mafia world is and that they'd undoubtedly take them from me. Ugh, it's such a heart-wrenching tale. It also happens to be one around the holidays, after you fight for your life in World War II. My favorite movie of all time is It's a Wonderful Life, so naturally a holiday opening around the 1940s and 50s is a key to my soul. It also happens to be another dreamy take on Christmas in New York City. You're talking to the people in the street, the snow is falling, a song that would get this video demonetized is playing. It's honestly beautiful. There's so many little details in these two streets as you venture back to your apartment while still capturing that you're in Empire Bay, aka NYC, such as a glass bottle being chucked out the window and crashing right at your feet. I love this because at least there's a shred of disaster in the city during the holidays. I'm telling you, this place stops for no one. I'm guessing if Bayonetta 2 is the Die Hard of Christmas games, does this mean that Mafia is like Die Hard 2 of Christmas games? I don't know. You tell me. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is Christmas in New York, baby. There's garbage everywhere. The snow is packed down and dirty. There are advertisements and things being sold to you around every street corner. It's perfect. The Division is one of the few live service games I tolerated. Not only was this a setting beautifully captured by Ubisoft, but the Dark Zone was one of the best things they've done as a developer. Teaming up with my friends to go for the best of the best when it comes to loot and risking it all for an extraction that you know other players are gonna hunt down, it's thrilling and one of my favorite PvPvE experiences yet. Still, despite my love of its online component, the streets of NYC are empty in the Division. That's because this disease called the dollar flu shut down various major cities in the United States. Naturally, my weird brain wandered itself back to 2020, where we all had a very pandemic Christmas. Much like in The Division, we were all hunkered down inside and it was a very weird time of year. I had actually got COVID during the holidays and it was quite isolating. What is a time of year for me that involves a lot of hugging and being around people is now a time where I'm forced into isolation, and like I said, it was a weird year for the holidays. Parties were like walking on broken glass and sometimes seemed like more trouble than they were worth. It was better to stay away from people during the holidays, which went against our very core. Playing The Division made me think back to those times briefly and feel thankful they're in the rear view. For many, a pandemic wasn't necessary for that type of distance to be created. Not all friends and family are close by, and we've had to adapt to better connect with people. Much of my holiday in 2020 was actually spent on Discord with my friends rather than my actual family. And for some, a phone call or video chat saying happy holidays is the norm. It, again, got me to check myself a bit on how I view these traditions and consistencies I value so strongly during the holidays, that perhaps it's for the best of everyone, myself included, if I remain open to celebrating in any way rather than just celebrating the way that I want to. Nothing beats a good old superhero game around Christmas. Batman Arkham Origins is a game where the Bat goes out on Christmas night to fight off the Rogues Gallery, who's hunting him down by order of the Black Mask. While I've championed this game individually in the past, I must remind you all that this should not only be a staple of your Arkham series replays, but as a holiday game too, each and every December. The snow falling on Gotham City, the decorations and advertisements draped across the levels, and even the night sky. This game just produces that night before Christmas feel, where you're wondering what Santa is up to and what part of the globe he's at, except he's a dude who breaks bones and is likely snapping the femur of prison guard number 49 right now as we speak. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate doesn't bring as much holiday cheer into the mix as the handheld spin-off, but we can at least pretend it does. Arkham Origins Blackgate introduces 2.5 Metroidvania gameplay with comic book style cutscenes, and what it lacks in, well, everything, it makes up for in style and the intangible, holy crap, this is on a PS Vita factor. So yeah, 7 out of 10 game, 0 out of 10 for Christmas spirit though. Saints Row 4 is also, weirdly, a superhero game. I swear, it's insane to see where things began as a GTA clone to one of the most ridiculous series in gaming to, well, whatever the last one was. Still, Saints Row 4 holds a special place in my heart. This was the first review copy for a game I've ever received, and definitely was one of those vital, holy crap, I can actually do this moments for my career. Even cooler, Saints Row 4 boasts the DLC, How the Saints Saved Christmas. Sure, it's barely an hour long, and you have to sink a lot of time into your playthrough of the base game, where it's almost tough to slot into your annual Christmas games list, but this has got to be one of the most dang charming Christmas stories in a game I've seen. You've got to defeat Claus before he ruins Christmas, deliver gifts, and fight some of the craziest Christmas-themed enemies I've seen in a game. Best of all, a good Christmas story ends with a thoughtful message, and this one certainly is that. While your character never believed in Santa, he sure does now, and he's reminded that there's time to reconnect with people, a story that I'm sure we can all relate to. Lastly, there's Miles Morales. This dang New York City and its pretty snow, I swear. But look, the web swinging in these games are incredible, and to see the tricks Miles can pull off while the snow falls around him, it's a zen like no other in gaming. Watching Miles and his family celebrate Christmas is just so warm and wholesome to me, especially if you decide to peek in the fridge. Miles' mom will yell at him for sneaking food before Christmas dinner. This is just something that Insomniac has always nailed. The culture, the little details. I feel like all of us can take away one little detail from this entire scene and relate to it. That's what games are all about, the creative input of dozens of people and capturing the feel of our own lives in a fantastical way. While going through these superhero games, I was thinking about how they're always good gifts for gamers of all ages. I distinctly remember having a few games on my Christmas list growing up and felt very lucky whenever Santa decided to deliver the big old superhero game. However, there was one time when I was a teenager that Santa delivered what you would call the wrong game. Hilariously, this one was Assassin's Creed 2, a game that many of you know I absolutely adore, and if you didn't watch our Assassin's Creed retrospective, I recommend you check that out. Still, Santa got it for me even though I said I didn't want it, and me, being the brat I was at age 14, got angry on Christmas Day and made my mom, or I mean Santa, feel real bad about it. Later that night, I threw the game in my PS3 on a whim, and what do you know, mom knows best, I ended up loving it. While I think my age is an easy excuse, I reflect back on that and the many videos that go viral around Christmas time where children are getting visibly upset when they get gifts that they didn't want or ones that they wanted to arrive and aren't there. Don't let it be too late to recognize that as you grow up, the time spent is truly what matters. That's only sunk in more since I've moved out. As I talk about with Parasite Eve, you never know when your last holiday with someone will be, so cherish the time you spend, not the money. Being a brat like I was at 14 won't get you what you want. I remember apologizing to my mom that same night, and we do laugh about it now, but part of me still feels guilty it happened at all. A gift is an expression of love that someone saw something and thought of you. To be anything less than grateful is an opportunity to grow closer with that person that's being missed, and that's the only lesson I can thank both my 14-year-old self and these superhero games for teaching me. Nothing says Christmas quite like the snow-capped mountains of Skyrim. It's like getting lost in a literal winter wonderland. We all have that game that marks an extremely important period in our lives. Skyrim is that game for me. I kid you not, every single time I play this game, I can't help but be transported back to junior year of high school. I was 16 years old attending my communications class, and instead of using the school computers for my work, I just read Skyrim previews and impressions. If I had read your hands-on impressions, that class always marked the point in my day. I'd just return to those articles and read them again if there was nothing new out. I had a computer at home, but this was my way of economizing my time to what really mattered. When I'm home, I want to be gaming, right? When I'm in school, I was wishing I was gaming, so this felt like a stroke of brilliance. Until my professor told me I wasn't cut out for the class since I was failing and that I should actually just drop it. Now, to his credit, he allowed me to clean the windows of the classroom to avoid a failing mark. Not sure if that's allowed, but who am I to complain? Anyway, that's how excited I was for Skyrim. I put it all on the line. Fast forward to the game's release, and I began making rare weapon and armor guides on my Mr. Matty Plays channel. This was something that always resonated with me, so imagine my childlike excitement when the videos ended up doing incredibly well. It was as if I had found my people. Gamers who love the same weird thing in a game that I did. I grew up with incredible friends, but they honestly never loved gaming as much as I did, and so in this weird way, I kind of felt like I was always on this island. For many people, it was just some random guy who had the answers to a weapon they wanted in some massive game, but for me, it was this epiphany. So I kept going and going and going. Next thing I know, YouTube is kind of like my part-time job, so my parents were cool with me not applying to work at like a grocery store, like my other friends were doing at the time. Now, I'll spare you the full Matty lore Bible and just fast forward to now. Every time I play Skyrim, it's like I'm whipped right back through the passage of time to that 16-year-old kid who had no idea what awaited him. Skyrim led me to Fallout 4 coverage, Fallout 4 led to this becoming my full-time job. When that did well enough, it led me here, to the best thing I've done in my professional life. Every time I play Skyrim, it's a reminder of where it all began, and how, if this one game didn't resonate with me so much, I may not be here talking to all of you. And that's the power of video games. They're fun, of course, but they also serve as time travel machines, like a PS2 memory card. The sights, the sounds, the atmosphere, they just have this ability to transport you to a particular place in your life that can also be quite comforting. So this holiday season, I hope you find that game that gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling and indulge in it a little bit. I feel like the world has become cold and calloused, and we just don't take care of ourselves emotionally as well as we used to. Little things like playing a comforting video game can do so much healing for the soul. Of course, there are other ways to heal our bodies, but I do hope you find that game this holiday season that brings you a lot of joy. Otherwise, to those of you celebrating, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. If you're not celebrating, I hope you have a happy holiday season. And just remember, Final Fantasy X is an okay JRPG.